Credit One is the absolute worst bank in America, and it's not even close. If you don't believe me, here's what everybody else has to say about them. Credit One is a joke. Avoid them at all costs. They make it impossible to cancel. Worst customer service I've ever experienced. Trapped in a cycle of endless fees. Their tactics are downright predatory. Feels like a scam? Stay away. But that begs the question, how bad is Credit One actually? To answer that question, I'll show you how one person had to call 5 times before being able to cancel their account, how they mail you fake checks and credit cards to get you to sign up, the 6 hidden fees that Credit One never tells you about, and how Credit One copied Capital One to steal their customers. Credit One is like a cheap airline that charges you nitpicky fees for every little move you make that other banks give you for free. They charge significant annual fees on their cards. These fees can be paid either as a lump sum annually or spread out in monthly payments. Either way, they add up to a considerable amount over time, increasing the overall cost of maintaining a Credit One card. They also charge a variety of additional fees that users may not initially be aware of. These include express payment fees, card replacement fees, and fees for selecting a custom card design. And as one user put it, they have so many sneaky fees, you'll pay them for using the card with no benefits. This sentiment was echoed by another user who was frustrated by the $8.25 annual fee that was being charged to them monthly. Basically, they were paying these guys $100 a year for a card that doesn't even have benefits and a $300 credit limit. And express payment fees are another point of contention, with Credit One charging customers to process payments immediately. They said, if I pay express, I have to pay you $5 to process the payment and post to my account immediately. F you again. That's what one cardholder said. Then standard payments, on the other hand, can take up to a week to post, leading to potential additional fees or interest charges. And as described by another user, they said, so if I pay the standard amount, you get your money right away, but I have to wait a week for it to post to my account? Cool. F you. Other fees include a $25 charge to replace a lost or stolen card and an 8% fee for cash advances, which is significantly higher than what many other credit card companies charge. For example, their policy states, if your card has been lost or stolen, please contact customer service immediately at this number. Now, if you still have the card, but it's damaged or broken, you may request a replacement. A $25 fee for this service will be billed to your account and will appear on your next billing statement. And then don't even get me started on the cancellation process at Credit One, because it's riddled with challenges and high pressure retention tactics. Canceling a Credit One account can be a difficult task, as many customers have reported. Persistent cancellation requests are often necessary because the bank makes it increasingly harder to close those accounts. As one customer noted, they make it increasingly difficult to cancel accounts, so when you aren't using them, you always have a balance they can collect on. This means that if you're not actively using your card, the bank ensures there's always a small balance to charge fees on. And then Credit One uses aggressive customer retention tactics, making it hard for customers to cancel their accounts. One frustrated user shared their experience. They said they will fight tooth and nail to get you to keep your account open, but stay persistent. This aggressive approach can be incredibly frustrating, especially for those who have already decided to terminate their services. Another customer shared it took half an hour to cancel 2 cards, and for each account, they wouldn't take no for an answer until I'd asked them 5 times to cancel after not being interested in them waiving the annual fee for 6 months. The process of closing an account with Credit One is often described as challenging and stressful. As another customer described, they said they'll try their hardest to not let you cancel. Even when customers are determined to cancel, they need to be prepared for a tough battle. And as another user experienced, they said, yeah, mine's got a $95 annual fee, paid monthly, no thanks. Did you end up needing to send a physical letter to cancel? No, just a high-pressure 10-minute phone call. Reports of customers having significant challenges in canceling their accounts are common. One customer shared, I made it clear that I wanted to cancel, and the chick on the phone started reading the disclosure to me about whether or not I accepted them waiving the annual fee for 6 months. And I was like, no, you know that's not what I wanted. Now, this really highlights the lengths to which Credit One goes to retain customers against their will. The difficulty in canceling an account can be extremely time-consuming, often requiring multiple interactions with customer service. One user described their ordeal. It said, it took me 45 minutes and 6 agents yesterday to finally cancel my card. Even after successfully canceling, some customers have found that their accounts were not actually closed, leading to further complications. As one user put it, they said, just make sure they really close it. I heard stories of people closing their accounts with them only to find out later it was never closed with a bunch of unpaid fees. Now, real quick, if you want to avoid horror stories like this one and you want to join a real bank where you actually have a future without terrible fees and scams, then you got to hit the link below to get instant access to my free credit card pre-approval master list with over 60 cards to choose from. I keep it updated monthly, and it's the best way to see what cards you'll likely get fully approved for. Now, Credit One is known for its predatory practices, which often deceive and exploit customers. One such tactic involves sending deceptive cash advance checks through the mail. These checks can be cash, but the amount is treated as a cash advance with a steep APR. As one user shared, they said, just received a $150 check in the mail from Credit One. Woohoo! I can cash it, plus it costs $12. It will post as a cash advance at a 29.2% APR. LMAO, this is hilariously dirty practice. This means that customers who cash their checks are hit with an exorbitant 29.2% APR, creating a hidden financial burden for them. Another predatory tactic is charging fees for credit limit increases, a practice that's completely different from standard industry norms, where increases are typically provided as rewards for loyal customers. Our user pointed out, yeah, they would charge a fee like $750 or something for a $250 to $350 line increase. That's wild. You know, this adds an extra cost burden on customers who are already financially strained. Another user emphasized that they sent a convenience check of $300, which you'd think at first is free money. In reality, though, it's just a cash advance on a portion of your credit limit. Thankfully, I tore it up and tossed it. That's a really scummy thing to do, and I definitely understand why people are so bitter about this bank. Lastly, Credit One's marketing strategies include adding fake credit cards into their letters to entice people into opening them. They think, oh, I've been approved for a new credit card, but in reality, it's just a marketing scheme. This deceptive practice misleads consumers and preys on their desires and financial weaknesses. And also, Credit One is the king of false branding and advertising. They've been accused of misleading marketing tactics that confuse customers into thinking that they're dealing with the more reputable Capital One. Their strategy to shapeshift and steal customers from Capital One has been surprisingly effective too. One major issue is the similarity in names and logos, which misleads people into believing Credit One is affiliated with Capital One. As one user said, the fact that Credit One and Capital One are both C something one and have a similar logo doesn't help. This brand confusion often results in customers signing up for Credit One services under the false impression they're dealing with Capital One. Another user said, it's so easy to take Credit One for Capital One and think it's a legit company. The confusion between the two brands is a significant problem. Many people mistakenly think that they are applying for Capital One when they're actually signing up for Credit One. Another person said, it's not Capital One. I keep seeing posts about people paying fees on their new Credit One card, and I also have a friend who has one and had the same issue. I would say this branding tactic appears to be intentionally designed to capitalize on Capital One's solid reputation. Another user pointed out, Capital One was really not thinking when they made their logo similar to Credit One's. You know, we'll talk about who copied who in a little bit, don't worry. But Credit One's aggressive marketing is made more dangerous by recommendations for legit credit bureaus like Experian and platforms like Credit Karma. These organizations frequently recommend Credit One to users, particularly those new to credit or rebuilding it, likely due to their advertising deals. Another person said, it's not helpful that Credit Karma and Experian keep recommending Credit One to people new to credit and rebuilding. And Credit One actually reached out to me for a high-paying marketing deal, and it was an instant no. That would be the worst move that I could make for my community. Interestingly, Credit One was founded in 1984, 10 years before Capital One, but changed its name from First National Bank of Marin to Credit One in 2006, most likely closely to resemble Capital One. When it comes to the logo, Capital One may have actually copied Credit One here. Some sources say Credit One had the logo first in 2006 and Capital One changed theirs years later in 2008. It's unclear who came first actually, but considering the history, it would make complete sense if Credit One copied Capital One for the second time. What's baffling to me is why Capital One didn't sue Credit One for trademark infringement. It really seems to check off every box for a lawsuit. You got similarity in logos, similarity in goods and services, and likelihood of consumer confusion. The only plausible explanation I can think of for a lack of a lawsuit could be an active coexistence agreement. A coexistence agreement is a legal arrangement between two companies that allows them to coexist in the marketplace, often despite potential conflicts over trademarks or branding. The agreement typically outlines the terms and conditions under which both parties can operate without interfering with each other's business, thereby avoiding lawsuits. Now, in an attempt to get to the bottom of this, I called Capital One to try and get some answers since I already have the Venture X card with them. The rep was immediately thrown off and annoyed by my questions. When I was transferred to a supervisor, she sharply asked me what my questions had to do with my account. She then stated that Capital One has no affiliation with Credit One. And I say this experience made it clear that getting a real answer to this question would be much harder than I expected. When I called a second time, the rep was nicer about things and laughingly said that Credit One copied them before calmly shutting down any further questions. So unfortunately, I couldn't reach anyone with Credit One since I don't have an account with them. However, this has only increased my curiosity about the nature of the relationship between these two companies. I do have a hunch there's more to the story that's being kept secret. I think it's a crime that Credit One is allowed to prey on people with bad credit and imitate other legitimate credit card companies. But you must know you can do better even with bad credit. Credit One cards offer terrible value compared to other options available in the market, particularly secured cards from major lenders. These alternatives often provide better terms, better rewards, and the possibility of transitioning to unsecured cards. As one user put it, the annual fee alone is a problem. There are free ways to build credit from a bad score these days. Even a score too low for a secured card from a major lender, there's no reason to pay an annual fee to Credit One now. And listen, I was shocked to find out that 7 of the 10 credit cards they offer have a top earnings rate of just 1%. That's laughable considering that 1% cash back is just about every other card's base earning rate. People often highlight that there are better options available offering more favorable terms and benefits. One user recommended anyone looking to rebuild credit get Capital One secured card or Discover secured card. Use it, pay in full every month, and in 6 months, you'll start seeing results. Other secured cards like Discover give a clearer path to improving your credit without unnecessary costs associated with Credit One. Additionally, the Apple Card is another good alternative, requiring only a 600 credit score. This makes it a top option for those looking to rebuild credit without a mess of fees and the poor terms that you get with Credit One. But listen, guys, Credit One is not the only bank you need to avoid. There's one other bank that just about everybody has exposure to, but they're notorious for closing accounts and reducing credit limits. Click on the next video to learn more about it, and thank you for watching.